Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday morning webinar series. I'm Chloe Tetro. I am the coaching lead here with Ready Care. For this morning, we're going to be looking at the topic of the power of sleep in the context of boosting productivity and focus, with a look at how sleep is directly implemented in our metabolic health, our moods, our cognitive function, and basically why we feel terrible without sleep. So you've all heard that old adage, you can sleep when you're dead, which is a terrible thing, but it's still circulating. So how many times have you heard that? We're a world absolutely obsessed with this kind of hustle culture. Sleep, therefore, can sometimes be looked as this kind of luxury, not a necessity. Sleep is the ultimate performance enhancer. So workplace, out of work, family life, hobbies, sports, academia, anything that requires any facets of your being, including your emotional health, will be enhanced by quality sleep. It's not just for, cog-like machine work productivity, but I'm talking all round happy, healthy individual. So when we look at the neuroscience aspects of this, it tells us that the quality of sleep doesn't just help you feel rested. It regulates your emotions, which is actually one of the first factors outside of dragging themselves out of the bed that people will start to notice they haven't been getting consistent sleep. They'll start to feel a little bit snappier, a little bit more on edge. Mood goes down, experience of the day-to-day goes down, anxiety, unfortunately, goes up. So when there's better sleep, it reduces that anxiety, helps the mood, balances your blood sugar levels, and drastically improves your cognitive function. So losing just 1 hour of sleep can make the brain's amygdala, which I talk about quite often, and that's their emotional and threat response. It's the part that gets active when we're feeling under threat or feeling anxious. So losing that 1 hour of sleep affects that emotional center by making it 60% more reactive. So what that means is your amygdala is now looking for reasons why it's anxious, stressed, scared. So we become a lot more emotionally reactive. So if you or somebody in your life finds themselves with heightened stress, anxiety, take a look at the old sleep pattern and see if there's any kind of little tweaks that can be made there. It helps to bring down frustration and impulsivity. So sleep also has a profound impact on blood sugar levels, insulin sensitivity. So there's a study done in 1999 by Spiegel and said that one night of poor sleep momentarily makes one as insulin resistant as a pre-diabetic. Now, of course, that's momentarily, but you can see if that has a kind of ongoing chronic aspect of it, how that will start to interfere with the longevity of our pancreatic health and our metabolic health overall. So chronically poor sleep will raise your cortisol levels, your stress hormone. Little bit of cortisol, great. Lots of cortisol, not fun at all. That increases your blood sugar spikes, your hunger, your cravings, and your fat storage. So when you have very, very little sleep, you're way more prone to snacking. You're way more prone to trying to eat things that are high in sugar to get your energy levels back up. So in this session, we'll have a look at the neuroscience of sleep, very briefly, how your brain restores itself overnight. It's not just gone offline. Why lack of sleep wrecks our focus, our energy, our mood, and our metabolic health, and more importantly, what you can do about it. And then look at a few strategies to optimize sleep towards the end, help to improve the quality of your sleep starting this evening. So starting off, I suppose we'll have a look at the science of sleep. What is happening? So sleep is, most people think of that kind of switch off factor, but your brain's actually more active during sleep than when you're awake. It's just doing a different set of tasks. During deep sleep, your brain consolidates memories so that you can retain what you've learned during that day, make sense of it, and basically just synthesize it into yourself. It cleans out toxins, which is a huge part of the positive aspects. And we look at neurodegeneration, so things like Alzheimer's disease, dementia, all of these type of things. So cleaning out toxins from your brain through what's known as the glyphatic system reduces the risk of brain fog. So brain fog would be a very, very mild in some ways, but the effects of it are very real, where basically it is what it sounds like, is you can't quite reach your thoughts as well. You have difficulty with recall, you're losing people's names. That's very, very common when people have had a bad night's sleep. Now think of that chronic over time, and how your brain is not getting that clearing out of those neurotoxins. So essentially, it's helping us with the longevity of our brain health. It regulates your mood and your stress response and ensures that you wake up emotionally balanced, which that sounds like a lovely thing to wake up to every day. Essentially, you're going to be less reactive, like we touched on a while ago. Your amygdala is not going to be as hypersensitive. It stabilizes blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, helping to prevent diabetes and metabolic dysfunction. I remember what I said a while ago, that if you're tired, you're way more prone to snacking. So if you're having a bad night's sleep and you're trying to, let's say it's January still, just about, stick to your New Year's resolution, and you're going, jeepers, I'm exhausted and I find myself snacking, and what I'm going for are things like sugar, crisp, bread, popcorn, these kind of high carb, high sugar, chips, these types of foods. I'll make myself hungry now around lunchtime. But these types of foods, what's happening there on a physiological level is your energy is down and the brain is looking to get it back up, and what it's going to crave is the highest sugar foods. That gets your brain back into that glucose that it's looking for. Essentially, it's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole, though. I will say it works very, very there's a very short-lived little boost of energy, then you get a crash that goes along and the cycle continues. So that can lead over time to weight gain. It can lead to your insulin levels going up, which impact not only your blood sugars, leading to things like diabetes, but it has a knock-on effect of things like blood pressure, cholesterol, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and a host of other difficulties, which are best avoided. So memory and learning. Sleep is when your brain is looking at that reconciliation, synthesis of your day. If you don't sleep, you don't learn, right? That's a little sentence to take away, particularly if you're in an environment that either your job has an awful lot of new learning on the job, adaptability, needing to be, what's the word people use, agile with regards your learning environment. Things are shifting constantly. Every single day seems like there's a new process, a new way of doing things. If you don't sleep, you're not reconciling that. Your memory is going to be really bad. So a particular study done by the Harvard Medical School in 2019 found that pulling an all-nighter reduces memory recall by 40%. And I'm thinking back to my college days. God almighty, tonight. There's a wonder I can't remember half of the things I learned. Sleep deprivation literally prevents the hippocampus, which is the brain's memory center, from storing new information. So whether you're studying or you're learning a new skill, looking to upskill, or just in a work environment where you need to be processing new information all the time, you are doing yourself a disservice by not getting a proper night's sleep. 40% is almost half of your brain's capability for memory out the window already. So mood and emotional resilience. The amygdala, which I spoke about a while ago, that's the part of the brain that processes your emotions and can become hyper-reactive when sleep is cut short. So think of having a bad night's sleep, getting your sleeve caught in the door and unleashing hell and all furies onto an inanimate object for what it's just dared to do to you. That lack of impulse control is very much tied into your sleep not being there. So your emotional reactivity will be through the roof with things, blood sugar and insulin. One night of poor sleep can reduce temporarily insulin sensitivity by up to a third, so 30%. This increases fasting blood glucose levels and make weight management more difficult. Now that's in an isolated, one day that it's been studied, but think of these things as going on over weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and oftentimes longer. And if any of you have had small kids at any point, you know the impact it probably had on you mentally and physically for that time period. So that's looking at that aspect of things. So with regards to stress and anxiety, no, I'll go back to the blood sugar for a second. Actually, I forgot a little part onto it. So sleep deprivation also increases ghrelin, your hunger hormone. So if you find yourself constantly peckish, that's what's happening. Decreasing leptin, which is the satiety hormone, or that hormone that helps you to feel fuller for longer. That leads to more cravings, sugars, carbs, needing and wanting to get your energy levels up, and getting that crash that goes with it. So it's like getting on a carousel, really, that you're just going around and around and around, trying to utilize very short-lived energy to get yourself back up to functioning. So stress and anxiety is one that most people will be very, very familiar with in general, to be honest. That's the society that we live in. But if you know yourself that you're prone to either of those, please, 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 please look at your sleep. Interrupted sleep. So it's a two-way effect, because the more stressed that you are, the more your body produces stress hormones. So we have our friend cortisol, who's our friend sometimes not so much. Cortisol and adrenaline. So every time that you're anxious, and remember, lack of sleep makes your brain's amygdala center way, way, way more sensitive. So it's getting more anxious, it's looking out for more threats all the time. As that's happening, your body's producing your stress hormones, of course. It's going to help you run away, or it's going to help you fight something. So it's producing cortisol and adrenaline. So the more you have stored of these throughout your day, first of all, you're probably not going to have a very pleasant day, because you'll be stressed out of your tree. And then add caffeine on top of that if you're tired, and you'd be wibbly wobbling into your day. I say that as somebody who's quite like that myself. Where was I? Oh yeah. So if you have an awful lot of stress hormones in your system, by the time you exhaustedly get to bed, what most people will find is they'll go, I'm exhausted, but for whatever reason, I just can't sleep. Or I can fall asleep, and then I can't stay asleep. And what's happening there is your body has spent the whole day sending chemical messengers that there's danger everywhere. So all of these different chemical messengers that come up when you're stressed and anxious, sending all these different signals, by the time it gets to bedtime, your body's going, I don't think so. There's danger everywhere. I'm not going to sleep right now. So there's this kind of vicious cycle that happens with it. So looking after your stress levels during the day is equally as important. And that's where some of the types of mindfulness, going for a little walk, breathing it out, not going for the carbs constantly, is going to massively, massively help, because we're looking to reduce those cortisol and adrenaline signals, which will help at nighttime. And it's going to show you why prioritizing the sleep aspect of things has a real knock-on effect if it's left unchecked. That it can impact your day, which impacts your night, which impacts your day. So starting any of the little tips that I'd give throughout a while, and to be honest, most people know what they are. It's just a matter of really understanding how important and crucial these are. So creativity and problem solving, that's a kind of strange one. We kind of think, this is not just, in the art room or anything like that, but REM sleep, which is your deep sleep, enhances creative thinking and emotional processing. So what I mean by creative thinking, when people say think outside the box, right? We're very visual as humans, and we do this kind of motion by our head face to signal this box, right? When you're stressed, when you're not slept properly, when your amygdala is all over the place, what do prey animals and hunter animals do, right? If you've ever watched a David Attenborough show, there's this kind of honing in of the vision. And in a literal way, not only does our vision narrow when we're sleep deprived, stressed and anxious, but actually our brain does the same. So it'll start to get rid and funnel anything that doesn't really seem that important to your survival for that day, i.e. lateral thinking, adaptability, creative ways of looking at problems and it'll go shunk. No, we just need to focus on what's ahead of us right now. We've no real learning capabilities, no real adaptability for change. And if you've ever had an argument with a coworker or loved one or friend or whoever, or unloved one, when you're sleep deprived, you will probably have found this, that even if they're talking the world of sense, you will just be like, no, I can't even try that on right now. I'm right, you're wrong. That's where a lot of that comes from. So our ability to think creatively, sorry, put the emphasis in the wrong part of the word there, creatively, and to actually come up with better solutions, try different ways of doing things, is massively, massively reduced when we haven't had appropriate REM sleep. So REM sleep helps people to find solutions to problems 30 times faster. That's amazing. That's a third. Incredible. So what happens if you don't sleep enough? Your reaction time, hang on, I have another little slide for that. Where are we? There we go. So I hope you can see that. I know it's quite small on your screen probably, but what happens if you don't get enough sleep? What are some of the risk factors? And is it a good story I'm going to tell? Probably not. A single night of 4 to 5 hours of sleep. Right, and I'm thinking my sleep schedule this week, and I have to say I'm mea culping myself. Reduce reaction time as much as having 0.08 blood alcohol level. So a reduction in reaction time is anything from driving to, should I send that email? Oh God, I've already sent it. Oh no. Or telling somebody to snap out of it, or whatever it is. Your reaction time is not as good as it should be, basically. So this is mostly if you're in a job where you need to be quick, fast, get things done, push the right button, send the right email. But if you're driving anything, if you're operating any type of heavy machinery, just to be aware of that the reaction time gets massively reduced. Your ability to focus, of course, is going to be harmed hugely, but by half. 50% to focus on complex tasks. Now, I'd love to know the criteria that they gave as complex tasks, because depending on your sleep or lack of sleep, I would say that complex tasks could be anything from getting yourself organized for the following day to cooking a lunch to anything. That's just going to sound way, way more complex. But I think this then in terms of if you work in a place with lots of different systems, lots of different stakeholders, lots of different teams, that in itself is complex, stacked lattice of wants, needs of lots of different people. The ability to be able to hold that properly and to really show up in the way that you should be able to day by day is reduced by 50%. Increased cortisol levels. There's our friend coming up again, bringing up our stress levels along with it and leading our blood sugars to go up and our fat storage to go up. So key takeaway here is sleep is not wasted time. It's your brain's reset button. It improves your mood, your stress resilience, your blood sugar control, and your cognitive function. So sleep, productivity, mood connection, right? So why do we feel, sleep and success? Yeah, lots of hugely successful folk. Hang on there. Where did I find these lads? So basically an awful lot of very, very high-powered individuals that we tend to think, they probably bypass all of these kind of things. But Jeff Bezos, now, take him or leave him, is the caveat that I would say. Take him or leave him. He prioritizes sleep because it makes him think clearer, make better decisions, be a better leader. So the only reason I'm including those is basically to show that that kind of stigma that entered in the 90s workplace of the more rest you take, the worse of an employee you are. We're still dealing with the repercussions of that, to be honest with you. Very, very, very successful people, leaders in their field, prioritize their sleep and do not see it as a waste of time. You take LeBron James, sleeps 10 plus hours a night to improve performance and recovery. And this is for anybody who's doing any type of physical manual work. Your body physically as well as psychologically and emotionally needs to recover from what you're doing. If you're somebody with muscle aches, inflammation, your body absolutely needs that time to recuperate. Arianna Huffington of the Huffington Post built an entire movement around making sleep a non-negotiable. So cutting sleep reduces long-term performance. And let's look at this just purely from a input-output, right? Workplace input-output. And whether you're, with a company, self-starter, side businesses, whatever it may be. A study from the University of Pennsylvania found that people who slept 6 hours a night for 2 weeks only performed as badly as someone who pulled 2 all-nighters in a row. So lack of sleep is costing businesses, even from a kind of bottom line type of look, billions. So poor sleep reduces workplace productivity and results in 411 billion. I can't even wrap my own brain around that, in annual losses due to mistakes, inefficiency, and burnout. So the real productivity hack isn't, staying longer and longer and longer and longer. It's knowing when to rest. You have lots of different types of science-backed strategies to improve your sleep. You've got things like controlled light exposure. So morning light is better sleep at night. It's a good way to think about it, although I somehow would mess that up, like shepherd's warning in the morning. I can't remember what it is. So studies show that getting 10 to 30 minutes of natural light in the morning regulates your melatonin and improves your sleep quality. So melatonin can be purchased, I think, or got on prescription as a sleep improver, and you can produce your own basically by getting light in the morning. Optimizing your sleep environment, of course, is huge. So making sure that you're not too cold, not too warm, helps the night's sleep. Now, a heavily heated room is oftentimes a worse environment than one that's slightly cooler. So looking at, where am I with my old slides here? Just looked at those ones here. So from a health perspective, looking at the cost, I looked at the kind of economics of it, but what's actually happening to our sleep in terms of our day-to-day activities and how we're feeling and how it's actually affecting our health. So chronic disease probability increases by 40%. Now that is a frightening thought. Less than 6 hours of sleep exponentially raises the risk of serious chronic health conditions. Insufficient sleep derails critical metabolic and hormonal processes. So we've touched on all of these. We're looking at how sleep is protective against the likes of cognitive degenerative conditions. We're looking at how it's helping to keep metabolic health in check. When your metabolic health is in check, it will no longer be difficult to lose weight and to keep weight off. Once your insulin levels, which spike up with bad sleep, come right back down, you've taken yourself out of a very high risk category for cardiovascular disease. You've taken yourself out of risk for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, blood pressure, cholesterol, sleep apnea, and a strange little one to throw in there, and of course diabetes. And diabetes is implicated hugely in not only, a host of conditions or symptoms that go along with the condition itself, but the trajectory of it is a far more increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So if it can be kept at bay through sleep, happy days. So sleep productivity formula. Getting the quality sleep in. You'll say, you could have guessed that one. So getting the quality sleep in is primary, really. So it's going to be anything from 7 to 8 hours. If that seems really, really out of reach for you at the moment, just focus on getting a little bit more sleep than you're currently getting. So getting that quality of sleep will help to balance your mood and enhance your day-to-day productivity. So what can you actually do to optimize your sleep, you may say? So things like choosing one sleep habit, trying to get at least a little bit of improvement day by day. So I would say try to improve by 10 minutes or 20 in the time that you actually get yourself to bed without a phone. That's all. Start small, right? If you can get yourself to bed an hour earlier, happy days. But if it feels a bit overwhelming where you're at, for example, if you're somebody that gets 5 hours of sleep and you have for a very long time, you say, look, Chloe, my body is not going to go to 8 hours. I need to change my habits and routines a little bit to accommodate the 8 hours. Start small. If you're somebody that watches 3 episodes in the evening of a show on Netflix, give yourself the thing of watching 2. If you're somebody that watches 2, bring it down to 1, etc., etc. Start small. Get yourself into bed earlier. Basically, as soon as your body starts to give you the signs of fatigue, and generally speaking, most people will get them 9 o'clock, 9:30, sometimes a little bit more. Start to listen to that cycle of the sleep signals that you're getting just a little bit more. Hot showers are going to really, really help. So if you have a hot shower in the evening because you're finding it difficult to fall asleep due to your stress levels and anxiety being up, a really hot shower, or as much as you can tolerate, please don't burn the skin off yourself, will help. Once your body cools down after your shower, it's going to help you to actually mimic the signs of drowsiness, sleepiness a little bit better. Getting things like lavender on the pillows, getting the phone away, basically. Blue light of any sort. We're glued to them. I have it here. Why do I have it with me here? I don't know. We often have multiple screens happening at the same time. Bring down the brightness of your screen when it starts to get dark. If you use a laptop, there's a little part to bring down the brightness. Start to bring down the brightness. This will help your brain to not receive signals to be awake, which that blue light gives us. Get yourself into a routine, more or less, where you know what you want to bring into it. So things like monitoring your sleep. Anybody who uses the watches and the apps will know that as soon as we have the data on it, we're more prone to get a bit competitive with ourselves, actually, which is a great thing. So if you can monitor your sleep, not just with a watch, but see how you're feeling, right? If you have a little notebook next to your bed, and at the end of every day, mark yourself from 1 to 5 how your energy was, how your focus was, and how your experience of the day overall with regards your mood was, right? Those are some of the first few things. So mood, energy, focus. Mark yourself from 1 to 5 every day for a week, right? We can all do something for a week. If you have the notebook and the pen ready to go next to the bed, and not on your phone, because if you're anything like me, Instagram will be open all of a sudden. How did that happen? If you have it in a notebook, mark yourself 1 to 5 in these types of things. You can add in different things as well. So how would you score yourself with your interpersonal relations, your stress levels, all of these types of things? So view sleep not as a waste of time, but as a way for you to basically get more out of your life. And I mean that in the short term, and I mean that in the long term. You are going to get more life out of life in your waking day. Short term, by having better experiences with co-workers, friends and family, because you won't be super anxious, super reactive. Your moods won't be as low. And it's a very, very quick fire way, simple, not easy, simple way to start to look at your mood if you're somebody that suffers from anxiety. Reducing your carbohydrates will also do that, because it'll get you out of that cycle of constantly needing energy from glucose and carbohydrates. And just commit to one small change, right? I would say if you can try to do 10 minutes every night for 1 week, that's an hour and a bit. But you don't have to do it every single night. Give yourself Saturday off. If you can commit to in and around 10 minutes of getting yourself into bed with the phone on silent, airplane mode, whatever it is that you use, getting the brightness down, and making sure that every day you get a little bit of natural sunlight at the start. That is going to help you to get some more melatonin, which regulates your sleep. So to wrap that up, do I have a little wrap up slide? I do. So you can't outwork a bad night's sleep, and you also can't outrun one, because you're going to be absolutely exhausted. When you sleep well, you work, think, feel, and live better. Your longevity long-term, your cognitive function long-term and short-term are going to be better. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, comment, queries, please do pop them in the chat box. Otherwise, enjoy your sleep, and I will chat to you guys next week. Again, have a lovely day and mind yourself, guys.